One. Okay. Hey there. I'm Bill, the Director of Marketing for Salora ERP, the NetSuite Healthcare guys. Welcome to Complete the Suite, our bi-weekly live AMA and Q&A for anything NetSuite and accounting. Each episode will rotate through a roster of heavy-hitting consultants from the NetSuite space. This week, we're joined by King and Nem, two very talented NetSuite consultants. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hey,
Hi
Will.
everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, well, good morning. Um, I don't, you know what? You guys just recently joined the company, and I kind of like, I'd kind of like a quick background on both of you. Well, let's start with King.
Hi everyone. So my background is anything about financials in NetSuite. So mostly I handle advanced revenue management, fixed asset management, anything related to tax, such as the legacy tax and the suite tax. I also handle intercompany and consolidation processes.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Nem. I'm NetSuite functional consultant here at Salora ERP. I've been in academia, I'm a CPA, I'm a NetSuite admin, and previously a NetSuite technical support. So that puts me at around 29 years old now. So I'm turning 30 this year, so good luck to me.
Cool. So you Nem, you came from NetSuite Direct, like the company itself, right?
Yes, I've been there for
So,
2 years. So I've handled order to cash, P2P, SCM.
and King, did you also come from NetSuite Direct?
Yep, I was part of NetSuite as well. NetSuite was my first job. So I was with support, with the training team, and with the advanced customer support as well.
ACS. You know what? I want to know. How did you guys find out about NetSuite? What brought you into that space? I mean, I know how I found myself in NetSuite accidentally, but with you guys, I mean, Nem, you're a CPA. Of course, it's kind of aligned with what you do or what you wanted to do with your life.
Yeah.
How did you guys find yourselves in NetSuite?
I mean, at first it was on undergrad, right?
Uh-huh.
There were NetSuite speakers that introduced NetSuite into us. Actually, me and King are from the same school.
Ah,
Yeah.
So King at King went into Divine Word College of Calapan, and then I was an undergrad there as well. So I think you were fourth year and I was second year, right? Or third year, I'm not sure. King.
Yeah, we came from the same school, so most of the CPA, I mean the graduates from our school, um, really plan to engage in NetSuite. So most of
ah.
the graduates from our school venture out into NetSuite.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, by the way, I noticed that Nem said he's a CPA. King, are you a CPA or no?
Yeah, I'm a CPA.
Why just that's important information that people at home need to know, right? So
No,
that
I
just
never
kind of
tell anyone
further
I'm a CPA.
why not? That's a huge, I mean, it's a huge deal. You can do audits, but it also kind of furthers and further strengthens the fact that Solora only works with really highly talented people such as yourselves.
Yeah, I
And
don't
and
know.
Bill,
Yeah.
King is taking up law now.
Wow. You're gonna be a CPA lawyer. You hear that? We've already got a lawyer on staff. So if you need anything legal, don't ask him because he's still not a lawyer. But
I'm not a
maybe in a
lawyer
couple of
yet.
years.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple of years. All right, cool. And before we get into the questions, the meat of Complete the Suite, we'll do a quick segment we call Sync Up, a quick look at what's new, what's happening, and what's coming up in the world of NetSuite. In the past few months, I don't know if you guys have heard of this, or I'm sure you're aware of the whole AI integration and engagement within NetSuite that Oracle's been pushing out, right? But I don't know if you guys have heard of Suite Cloud Agent Skills. Have you guys heard of that one?
I think I've read some articles in LinkedIn, but I haven't really tapped into it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, me too. Because yeah, well, I kind of just ran across it on LinkedIn as well. But it's basically like Claude Code or Copilot for developers on NetSuite for SuiteScript and all those customizations that we'd be doing on the back end, right? And I know that neither of you are technically developers, but being consultants, you do work with a lot of developers on a daily basis. I wonder what you guys think and how you guys feel about this. I guess maybe speeding up the work that they do, or maybe impacting the work that you do. What are your thoughts on this? Especially with it kind of taking away a little bit of the grunt work for them.
Yeah, maybe I can start. I can start, right? You know,
Sure,
as
go ahead, King.
NetSuite, as NetSuite brings more AI into the developer's workflow, I think it's going to be a huge win for how we translate what the client actually wants. Remember, we've always had those messy client requests from client, right? AI could
Yeah.
actually help bridge that gap faster, turning very vague ideas into something that the developer can actually use or understand. But only if we, as functional consultants, frame the use case more clearly for the client. Also, AI can be a very great knocking out very repetitive, for example, switch scripts. It makes the
Hmm.
process faster, but doesn't really replace the functional side of things. For example, we still need to step in and make sure the code actually works or solves the actual problem, right? And it's
Yeah.
going to be or it's going to make our collaboration with developers so much smoother, right? For example, instead of just asking, hey, can we automate this? We can hand over very structured requirements for the clients and for the developers to use. And we can provide the developers very clear examples as well and actual testing scenarios for them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think we have witnessed a few client requests that have gotten lost in translation,
Yeah.
maybe because of some trigger-happy developer wanted to do certain things, or maybe just a miscommunication down the pipeline, right? And I think even though it doesn't really immediately answer that question of communication, helping these developers be able to solve problems that are maybe a little too easy or too obvious that some developers are too deep into the bushes they might not even see. It could help a little bit with turnaround time. King, what do you think?
I mean, the coding phase may get faster, but for me, the real bottleneck is often understanding the workflow itself. I mean, the
Yeah.
exceptional cases and how the client actually uses NetSuite from day to day. Because without understanding the client's business process, it would be very difficult for us to, conceptualize a solution for them. In addition to that, I believe testing becomes even more important, even if we have the help of AI nowadays when it comes to formulating like basic workflow or basic suite script. Testing is really, really relevant for a better solution. So faster development means more need for structured testing like the UAT and consultant review as well.
Yeah, no, I like that because it's very easy to hear that AI assisted development and imagine a future where someone just types in make NetSuite good and then everyone can go home quickly, which sadly is not how any of this works and will work probably in the next year or I don't know. It depends on how quickly AI moves. But if it helps developers move faster, then helps consultants write better requirements and helps clients get smaller improvements done without turning everything into a 6-week saga, then that's worth paying attention to. That's actually a nice way to kind of lead into the next bit. And I know most of our main customers, well, most of our customers are really still in NOAM, North America. But I don't know if you guys heard of NetSuite actually even releasing AI connectors and other AI innovations into the Southeast Asian market. I know the biggest, again, you guys have to correct me on this. I think the biggest customer of NetSuite that I'm aware of that's based in the Philippines is Unilab, right? Is it? Are you guys aware that it is? NetSuite came to your schools to give a talk. I'm pretty sure they said which which customers they have in the Philippines. Did they or no?
No,
Sure,
I'm
King's
not
Sinilo.
quickly Googling.
so sure, but I believe Jollibee Philippines uses NetSuite.
Oh, really? JFC?
Yeah,
I didn't
sales
know that.
portal. When I was in NetSuite, Jollibee Philippines was one of our customers.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Yeah. So again, Oracle and NetSuite putting more weight behind AI in Southeast Asia with things like the NetSuite Next that's supposedly going to come in October, and that everyone has beaten to death like talking about it. Anyway, the AI connector service, which is already up and running, we're using for a few apps that we're using, the MCP server and analytics, blah blah blah. I'm curious how you both see that landing here in Southeast Asia, right? Because again, yeah, we're going back Unilab, JFC, RDUs, NetSuite, and I'm not sure. I think Odoo is still one of the biggest, and QuickBooks, obviously. QuickBooks, Odoo, and SAP, for the few companies that I've worked with, are still pretty big ERP systems that people use here. Do you think this push with AI is going to start, helping NetSuite penetrate the market in Asia a little bit more? King's Googling again. It's fine. We can cut this part out where you guys are quiet. Yes and no. Just because someone plugs in AI into a system doesn't mean it's immediately attractive to the companies. And especially in Asia, a lot of the companies here are still AI adverse, or are still learning to embrace AI. We're slower adopters when it comes to technologies like this, specifically here in the Philippines, right? They do try to adapt things that are going to make it easier, but if things are going to make it a little bit more complex, such as this, integrating such a huge stack, or an insane layer of abstraction on top of legacy software like NetSuite, I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to push people out of SAP, Odoo, or QuickBooks, but definitely something that could possibly shift the tides.
For me, yes, NetSuite has the capability to penetrate Asia, most especially now that AI is very rampant with, I mean, in the industry. So for example, um, NetSuite already has this multi-language feature, which with the help of AI can help, I mean, alleviate the communication barrier with other like Asian countries like the in China, in Singapore, which most of the clients I have interacted with are not very like proficient in English. So with the help of multi like language feature that NetSuite offers, and with how AI can boost it, I believe NetSuite has a better like advantage or competitive advantage with the other like competitors in the market right now.
You know what?
Like the
You
like
know what? That's super interesting. I didn't even think about that because, yeah, no, the Philippines, us where we are, we predominantly really speak English. But yeah, the other Southeast Asian countries, right? I mean, they do speak English, but the language barrier is insane. You're right. That's true. And I guess with the help of AI, it's kind of like having Duolingo within NetSuite. That's interesting. That's a very interesting take. Um, and I'm just fingers crossed that those other legacy software companies don't have the same stack that they're going to have with AI on in the coming months.
I kind of agree with King as well. Uh, I think it's a bit of both. On one hand, AI can definitely make NetSuite feel way less intimidating in a sense, right? A lot of companies here see ERPs as heavy and complex, but if AI can make our day-to-day stuff easier, that's a huge win already. But actually, speaking from experience as a finance person as well, usually my main focus is on, for example, will AI help me close the month faster, or will it make my reconciliations easier? Ultimately, I think it comes down to trust. Companies will adopt it in the near future, yeah. But they need to understand how it works in NetSuite, and ultimately make sure that an actual person still checks the AI findings that NetSuite does in the background.
Understood. You know what? I honestly completely forgot about how user-friendly NetSuite Next was, like
Yeah.
the demo of it. Right? Yeah, no. If NetSuite can find a way to you're right, to make it less intimidating for new clients, or returning customers, or even customers that are coming from other systems that let's admit it, SAP is a little outdated when it comes to UX. I don't know if you guys have operated within that, right? If they can find a way to make it a little bit more user friendly, you're right. That's going to win over a lot of customers, especially here. That's a super interesting take, and I think that's all the time we have for Sync Up. And AB has finally pinged me with the first question of the day, right? We've got that question ready, and let's take a quick look. And I'm sure AB earlier has sent you guys over the quick backgrounds for each of these questions. So um, take time to kind of absorb that. But here's the question. The question coming from Alec. He works for a finance team at a healthcare facilities and clinic build out company based out of Philly. All right. Hey, Salora, we're using purchase contracts in NetSuite. Would progress billings? And we're running into an issue with retention. Let's say the total contract is 100,000 with 10% retention, and we want 90,000 to remain payable under AP progress billing, and the remaining 10,000 to sit in at a separately to sit separately under AP retention until the contract is complete. The problem is that when we create a vendor bill against the purchase contract, NetSuite posts the full amount to one AP account. What's the cleanest way to handle this so retention is tracked properly and can be released later and still preserves audit trail and purchase contract traceability? Nem, I feel like this is a very P2P and R2R kind of issue. This is going to be your field and your expertise. How would you think this through?
Okay, the first thing I'd point out is that NetSuite is not really designed to split the AP side of one vendor bill across two different AP accounts. First, the vendor bill usually credits one AP account at the header level, so if the requirement is to separate progress payable from retention payable, I'd avoid forcing that directly on the bill. What I'd usually do is look it as a structured process. First, let's create the vendor bill from the purchase contract for the full amount so the contract traceability is preserved. Then we use a separate retainage holdage transaction, usually a vendor credit or similar control process to move the retention portion into the AP retention or separate liability account. Then when the contract is completed, we release the retention back through a retainage release vendor bill or an equivalent transaction. That way, AP and GL and the contract record are still a clean story.
I love that one because it's so common. Everyone's got data in NetSuite and needs it somewhere else, and just export and manually approach only works until it doesn't, right? And while we have a quick intermission, Nem, real quick, and King, you feel free to answer afterwards. What does the perfect afternoon look like for you? Like if you close your laptop at noon today or midnight for us, what happens?
Probably just a very good cup of coffee and then binge watching One Piece. Right now, I'm on the
Okay.
Dressrosa arc, right? Are you watching One
Well,
Piece or no?
live action or the
The
animated?
anime, the anime.
Ah, copy. I've not followed One Piece at all, so I might need to get on that.
Yeah,
That
it's really
sounds nice
nice.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
What about you, King? What does a perfect afternoon look like for you?
Mm, for me, just giggling with my pillows.
What?
Thinking since
Did you
there's
say
no
giggling with your pillows?
yeah,
What do
since
you, are your
no
pillows telling you jokes?
I mean, probably a very long sleep, good sleep. I mean, very long sleep. That's a good,
Like a
perfect afternoon for me.
that sounds nice. Yeah, a nice siesta in the middle of the day. It's completely different, right? It's like when you go to sleep at night, it's yeah, no, it's a given. You're supposed to sleep. But when you have the opportunity to sleep in the middle of the day, it's just a completely different experience. It's so much more refreshing.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And AB just flagged us. We've got a few questions in the queue that are a little bit more involved, the kind where we really want to get into someone's specific setup to do them justice. For those of you who submitted something and we haven't called your name yet, we see you. We're not skipping you. We just want to make sure you actually get a useful answer and not a rushed one. We'll be following up after the show, and we'd love to sit down with you properly. And then on that note, AB does have one more featured question for us today. And King, I think this is going to be for you. This is coming from Marissa, who works on revenue operations for revenue operations for a healthcare technology company based in Austin. They sell software to clinics. The question is, let me see, just open up Slack. We're using NetSuite ARM with SuiteBilling for a mixed subscription and one-time revenue model. Subscriptions are handled through SuiteBilling, while one-time revenue items come from standard sales orders. When both are in the same deal, we merge them into one revenue arrangement for ASC 606 allocation. The subscription side handles changes cleanly, but if one-time revenue line is partially canceled after billing, we can't revise the sales order anymore. Oh, that makes sense. Um, ARM still carries the original allocated value, leaving deferred revenue sitting there even though the obligation is reduced or closed. We don't want to use any manual journal entries because that just breaks ARM's subledger story. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool. And credit memos and may reallocate across the arrangement. Is there a clean way to handle this inside ARM? King, I'm not familiar with ARM too much or SuiteBilling, and I think since you're the expert and the CPA apparently, I'll leave this one to you.
Yeah, there is a clean way to handle these process. First, we just need to understand if um we need one after we close the item line level, we're not anymore um recognizing revenue for that specific revenue element. The good thing with this with the advanced revenue management is that you are correct. I mean, Marisa is correct that journal entries we can journal entry may correct the GL balance, but ARM will still show the revenue element incorrectly. So to address this scenario, what we recommend is that we use the credit applied in a way that clearly upsets the specific one-time revenue element, or um, once we do the credit to that specific item line, then NetSuite will specifically create a revenue arrangement for that revenue, for that credit memo, for that specific revenue line. And then once we generate the revenue recognition process, then NetSuite will be able to create a negative revenue, which will be upset against that positive revenue on the order. So for in bottom line is that in a mixed arrangement, especially with subscription and one-time revenue together, a credit can technically be valid, but still create a messy revenue outcome if NetSuite spreads the adjustment across elements that were actually affected. This won't happen because the revenue element is specifically tied to the item that you closed on the order. So NetSuite will not automatically allocate the credit amount to the available revenue elements on the order. It will just credit or create revenue arrangement and revenue plan to that specific line that you have credited. So instead of creating a manual journal entry, which of course will correct the GL balances in the balance sheet, but will not be, will not be correcting the deferred revenue waterfall report detail, which makes a difference between the two reports that could be a red flag to the auditors, then I recommend creating a credit memo for that specific line that is reduced or that is subject to a contract modification or cancellation.
Dude, you know what? I was actually trying to take notes here because that's a lot of words that I did not know about ARM and SuiteBilling. That's super interesting. Nem, I don't know if I know your expertise is in somewhere else. I hope you were taking notes for future clients for future client use. That is amazing that you can just rattle that off, King.
No, I think I'll just ask King next time.
Yeah, the answer is just credit memo. You just credit the revenue element line.
That's cool. Okay, cool. AB is pinging us again. He has been collecting answers in the back, like the final boss of a NetSuite admin, and I think we can end with a little bit of a rapid fire. Are you guys okay to rip through these really quickly? I think there's
Yeah,
gonna
of
be
course.
a couple, just a couple. All right. Yeah. Yeah. First question. Don't know who this is from. Just AB sent it over. We canceled a one-time charge for a healthcare client, issued a credit, but ARM still looks weird. What should we check first? All right. I think since it's ARM King, I think this is gonna be for you.
Yeah, there are a couple of things that we need to check before doing anything in the system, not to mess the financial reports and the other reports as well connected to the deferred revenue process. So we start with the accounting event, not the button clicking. So confirm that it was truly canceled, not reduced scope, not a contract modification, and not just a billing correction. The other one is, of course, to check the revenue arrangement and whether the credit impacted the right revenue element. I just mentioned earlier that when you do the credit memo, you need to make sure that the ones that you credited is the right revenue element. So when you run the revenue recognition process, the negative revenue balance will be impacting the element that has been closed out or reduced on the contract. The other way is that make sure that the credit memo is linked properly and not just, cleaning up AR because while ARM still thinks revenue exists. So what do I mean by that is you the AR and deferred revenue are two different balance sheet accounts. So the invoice affects the AR. At the same time, the credit memo also reduces the AR. But that does not mean that if you create the credit memo without generating the revenue arrangement for that specific revenue element, it will generate the negative impact for that specific deferred revenue balance. And then, of course, we need to avoid manual journal entries because, again, if we create manual journal entries not linking it to the source transaction that is being impacted, then it will float in the balance sheet and also probably in the deferred revenue waterfall reports. So the best practice, of course, is to trace from the transaction, the revenue arrangement, open the revenue recognition plan, and check the GL impact of the transactions. The downstream transactions that transpired when you create the credit memo.
Dude, you took rapid fire way too seriously. That's insane. That was so quick. All right, Nem, let's see if you can answer as quickly as as King. Okay, for question two, I hope it's something for King. We
Okay.
built a vendor bill approval workflow, but some bills are still skipping approval. Where do we usually start troubleshooting? Okay,
O-
Nem?
Okay, I think the first step would be check the workflow initiation itself, especially, for example, the subsidiary, the amount, the vendor, role, and status conditions. So we need to check the actual workflow itself. And then we need to also review whether the bill was created by, for example, via UI, was it created via script or via CSV import, etc. And then we need to look at workflow execution logs as well. So that should be under customization, scripting, script, I think script execution logs. And then we need to check system notes as well to see whether the workflow is, for example, if it exited or for example, if it exited or leave the workflow itself. And then we need to check the permission level for each roles, the custom forms, because maybe there are, for example, conditions on the workflow itself that depends on the forms. And then we need to make sure that there are no other scripts, for example, any other scheduled processes or any other approval status defaults overriding the workflow. And then I think the best practice still is to, for example, create a test transaction, a very clean one, with and then before assuming the workflow itself is broken. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, I have no clue if that's completely correct. I'm gonna trust that it is correct. And King, I think do you agree? I'm gonna,
Not very good with workflow, but I trust them.
yeah, I trust them as well. The workflow
Yeah.
sounds correct. I mean, I've been working on a separate project that does require a lot of RNP and a lot of workflow investigation there, and I think yeah, I think that's correct. So whoever asked that question, hopefully we were able to answer that, and that's rapid fire. King, Nem, thank you both for being here. Seriously, I know we've been really extremely busy the past few weeks, and I'm really grateful for you guys taking the time out of your day, and I guess for the entire week as well, getting ready for the show to answer some questions. And I think I really liked what we talked about today, and we got to show both sides of NetSuite. That there's an accounting side, and where the question is, what should this mean financially? And there's the system side. How do we actually make NetSuite behave the way that we want it to behave, right? Especially without breaking eight other things, which is usually what happens when we try to update even as simple as a safe search. I know there's so many, like speaking on safe searches, I've seen so many do not touch titles of save searches on our demo account, and I know that can easily break an entire script. So that's super important. So Again, thank you both for being here, and thank you for everyone who's watching for spending a part of your day with us. And if we didn't get to your question today, AB has everything collected in the back, and we'll do our best to follow up and bring it into a future episode. Join us again in the next episode where we'll convince Claude that he's ChatGPT. I've been Bill, and thank you for completing the suite.
Thank you, everyone.
And,
Thank you. Bye-bye.